This is the LoinersView podcast.
This is the LoinersView podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to LoinersView. Welcome. This week I'm joined by three individuals who you know them all by now, I hope. This week we have Chris Patrick.
Evening, Loz, you all right?
Not so bad, my friend. And we have Johnny, Mr. Allbell himself.
How's it going?
Not so bad, my friend. And we have the Cumbrian legend, that is Mr. Jordan Walker.
Hello, you all right?
Not so bad. Right. Basically, this week's show is just us lot. We're going to go through a number of issues which we kind of think, it's better to discuss by ourselves and not get anybody who's connected with a club involved, mainly because it's kind of our opinions. We don't want to drag people in and get them involved with anything. So we're going to discuss, to start the show, pretty much about season tickets and how clubs have responded to the fact that obviously games are going to be played behind closed doors and what they are offering to the fans. Now, each club are offering pretty much different sort of things, but quite a few of the clubs have got a similar sort of basic procedures, shall we say. So we'll take Leeds, for example. They've given the customers three major options, basically, for season ticket holders. You can either get a full refund, you can exchange, have a price freeze, and donate your ticket money to the club itself to try save them, or you can I don't know, what was the second one, Chris?
What we're saying, so it was the price freeze where you could
Price freeze.
a price freeze, money deducted off for 3 years or so.
Yeah, that's it. So there's three different options. A lot of Super League clubs, I should say, are offering similar sort of deals for the fans from what we've seen. Some of them haven't even announced anything yet. So, gentlemen, what are we thinking? How and what are your opinions of all the offers that we've seen? What's your things on Leeds? Let's start. Chris, what do you think so far?
Well, as you know, like myself and Danny and Floyd have been working closely with the club, as part of as the supporters board, and we've kind of had to keep quiet about it over the last few weeks, but we've kind of felt like when we've had these conversations with Leeds, we've just felt like overall it's the fairest way for the fans. We've seen all these comments on social media recently. We were talking about it earlier, where it's almost like, if you don't give money back to the club, are you a true fan? At the end of the day, it's a personal decision on the individual. You can help the club out as much as you like if you are in a position to do so, but first and foremost, you've got to think about yourself. You've got to think, if you need that money, then take the refunds. I think the way that Leeds have handled everything, I think they've been brilliant. They've been very clear with everything. Granted, the email, it's quite lengthy, it's very worded, but I think that it has to be, because there's a lot of information that we do need to get out to people. You've got some members where they've purchased the 5 tickets where you can select 5 games over the course of a year. So there's so many variables for our members. I just think, I've seen there were a bit of criticism with, I think, because we also revealed about the potential loss of 4 million, but I just feel with Leeds at the moment, we're kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't. Leeds, for me, have just been very clear and transparent, being very honest. They're not mentioning the losing 4 million just as a in hand, give us your money. Far from it. I think, if anything, it's setting the supporters' expectations maybe over the next year or so when it comes to recruitment as well. Whether it's going to be a thing of, again, as we have done over the years, promoting from within.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because we've seen a few clubs who they've all said, I don't know if it's been agreed by all the chairmen, they all seem to have kind of gone on, all the statements that have been released, all seem to go along the same formula, if that makes any sense. So, I've looked at Saints, you kind of look at Hull KRs, although Hull KRs is a little bit different. I'll come on to that in a second. How do you think, as fans, is there too much pressure being put on fans to maybe give the money to the club, or how do you see it, guys? That's just in general. That's not just in Leeds. It's just in general.
I think I think there's an option for everybody. I mean, nobody's saying you've got to give your money away or give back to the club, but if you do, the club will look after you next season. I mean, if you do donate the money, there's a prize freeze over the next 3 years. You get a day of hospitality. I think it's the Lewis Jones suite with a 2-course meal. And a behind-the-scenes tour with Kevin Sinfield as well. I mean, that's not bad. And then you've got the other ones where if you pledge the next 3 years on your membership, you get it deducted what would be this year's membership over the course of 3 years. I mean, you can even get it all back if you want. So, I don't see a problem personally.
God, for somebody who is not a season ticket holder, how do you see this? Would you be happy with the options if they were presented to you? What would be your choice?
Well, I'm sort of a bit different to you guys in that they only owe me 15 quid for a Magic Weekend ticket. So it's not, I'm not in any way the same situation as you guys. But I think as the lads have already covered, there is an option for everybody. But I must stress that no one should be made to feel like any less of a supporter if they do need their money back. Times are hard at the minute. People are on furlough, on limited wages. Some people have even lost their jobs. You're not any less of a fan if you ask for your money back. I've got no time for these people that are like, shame on you, I'll give the club my money. Well, spot on, you get an extra Ronnie Teddy to take to the game next season. But people are in different situations, and there's no right and wrong. People will do what's best for them.
Exactly.
Let's go, Johnny.
No, I'm just saying exactly right.
I mean, funny enough, I've taken note over social media over this past week about like fans from other clubs, and a lot of people are saying exactly the same. I mean, without picking on the Warrington, basically, I don't know if you saw the chairman's comments about how, he's basically urged the fans not to get a refund or, you could set us back. And I just thought, cheeky, you kind of just signed Greg Inglis. How can you as an owner come out and say fans don't get a refund, but we have just spent a fortune on Greg Inglis? For me, that just seems, that really riled me. I don't know. I mean, I did kind of go around on the LoinersView Twitter account about it. I just feel like you've got to be careful. You can't you can't sugarcoat it, but in the same context, you can't make your fans feel guilty asking for money back.
No, and there's no right or wrong answer, Loz. It's like, again, what Johnny and Jordan have said, and it kind of feels like with the way it came across with Warrington, it almost kind of felt like, yeah, this is what Leeds have said. However, no, we're better than that. We're not going to ask you for the money. But I really don't see where the debate is when it comes to offering fans, that option of having a refund. At the end of the day, it's we're all adults. It's their money anyway. So these are games that we're not going to be able to attend. They're being played behind closed doors. So I mean, we've mentioned previously that there's been a few comments in the media, I think, with the Evening Post and I think Hull Daily Mail, and I think it's the way it's kind of being worded as well towards Leeds. Again, it just sometimes it just feels like it's just just like a bit of a reason to have a little bit of a pop at Leeds.
Yeah, that was. I had a very interesting Twitter conversation with a Hull Daily Mail guy the other day, who was Leeds Live, Yorkshire Live is something to do with Hull Daily Mail as well, and his words are, "We haven't insinuate that Leeds are not loyal. Oh, we never put that." I think if you look at the tweet headline, it was very much it did very much look as though it was, but each to their own. It's all clickbait.
They're just after likes and views at the end of the day, though, aren't they?
Clickbait, yeah, basically. But it makes you wonder. I mean, for instance, Hull KR, they released a statement last night where Neil Hudgell basically kind of didn't actually say anything to the fans directly. It was such as, what we're going to offer you, but very much was implying like we are going to be in a 2 million deficit by the end of next year. We don't have this, so we might not be able to do that. And it was kind of like, I'm sure the fans know they're going to be in trouble, Neil, but they kind of might also want to know what you're going to do with their money. I don't know. I mean, it's an awkward situation, isn't it? I think
it is, and as we've said, there's no right and wrong. People have just got to do on an individual basis what's right for them. And if you've got £300 to spend on a meal with Kevin Sinfield, then fair enough, that's good, and I'm pleased for you. But you shouldn't be made to feel like any less of a supporter if you choose one of the other options. Is the gist of it, really, what we're saying.
Yeah, it's a fair point. If you are struggling to decide, guys, and if you think you're seeing all those up, don't do what you want to do. It sounds harsh, but think of you. You've got to think of yourself. And
Plus, I think as well, just to add to that, I mean, like when people, like, I mean, this is like, it goes to show like the loyalty of Leeds fans, where sometimes they'll actually put the club, before themselves, But there's going to be plenty of opportunity to support the club as and when. I mean, we've seen the sales during lockdown as well, like the 2 for £20. We've had various online sales for Leeds. So anyone who's in a position where they can't support Leeds right now, take the money, look after yourself, and then you can support Leeds as and when. Like we've said, it doesn't make anyone less of a supporter, and it's not like when you see people going, oh, definitely it's option one. It's not a cock-winning contest. You know what I mean? Just do what suits you.
But can I just say, I did a couple of hospitality days at the start of the season, and if you do have that spare money and you don't mind giving it to the club, they are great days. The good days out, it's a totally different side to things. I think we would enjoy.
I think the option that they've offered us to keep the money within the club, but have that credited to matches for next season is a perfect option for. Well, that's what I would personally do.
Yeah.
Rather than completely write it off. But it's good that they've took on board what the likes of the guys on the supporters board have had those discussions with them, and it's good that they've worked to try and keep as many people happy as possible, because it ticks pretty much every box, doesn't it? I think everyone's going to find a way that suits them.
There's literally no bad option.
No.
It covers everybody.
Do you think all the clubs have all been working together on this?
There's probably an element of a lot of the clubs for it might go off the back of Leeds releasing their statement, because they know that we're renowned as being like a well-run club. It might be that they'll say, let's see what Leeds do, and then let's see if we can, maybe copy that. So there might be some element of that, yeah.
It's really intriguing because it's almost does seem like we kind of were the first, I think, or maybe not. It might be us and Saints, I think, release statements, maybe even Wigan, I think.
Same day, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it almost seemed like as soon as that, the 3 games wherever they're supposed to be played, Headingley. It almost seemed at the same time as that was announced, season ticket and things were announced. So it's going to be intriguing. I think, like we say, there's no right or wrong answer, but just let's hope we get us some games. I mean, when do you, right, I haven't even asked this yet. When do you think, I know it's hindsight and everything, when are we going to be able to go to games, do you reckon? Will it be next year, do you think?
I would be surprised if we get many games in this season. I mean, if you look at the Aussies, who have been well ahead of us with the cases of Corona and everything, today was the first day, and we're 6 weeks back into the restart, or 5 weeks back into the resumption of the comp, and today's the first day they've actually let fans in any sort of number. And even then, there was only a few thousand there. It wasn't even like there were, a lot there. At Suncorp, they opened the bottom tier. There were massive gaps in between everybody. And I've not seen the full crowd figure, but I reckon there were no more than 5,000 there. But again, they're ahead of us. Most states in Australia are having no cases on a daily basis. There's only Victoria that's bad. The others are going pretty well at the moment. And if that's what they're doing, I can't see us jumping the gun, because it'll just make things worse anyway down the line. So there's no point, really.
It'd be weird to see maybe a grand final behind closed doors, say.
Yeah.
Like, say, being played, I don't know, South Leeds Stadium or somewhere. You never know, do you? But, like something like that, it makes you think, doesn't it? It's like, could that actually work?
Would they still rent Old Trafford with no crowding?
I think personally,
I don't know what the logistics of it are.
They'd have to go with a big. They'd have to go with a big ground, because it's the feeling. If you're a player, no matter if you walk out in front of at Wembley or at Old Trafford, no matter if there's 80,000 there, 70,000, if there's nobody there, it's still a special feeling, isn't it?
Did you see the League Two playoff the other night?
Yeah, so strange.
And it was so strange, like when it came to the trophy, and it felt like the biggest anticlimax ever, but it was so weird. And I kind of get the feeling if we challenge cup like that, it would be such a weird moment. I mean,
mind you, I don't suppose kicking off a 7:15 on a Monday night helped.
No.
The interesting thing as well, though, lads, is like, say, I mean, I agree with Johnny. I just find it difficult to see what time, like when we can actually go back to Headingley and watch a game. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're not there until next year. The thing is as well, the interesting thing, I mean, you could see from the game this morning, the social distancing where so many seats are out of use. But you've got to take into account as well, say if we are allowed back in the games, how do you police it where you've got so many season ticket holders, but you can only allow so many in?
You have you have a pineapple length in between each person. It's the only way.
The problem at most rugby league grounds in the UK is like you can police it more at Suncorp because everywhere's seated. You get given a seat and you've got to sit on those seats. Now, 80% of the grounds in the UK is terracing. So what do you do there? How do you get around that then?
It could be done relatively safely. The problem with British people and sport is the booze. So it gets to half time and we all go for a piss. They would have to find. I've got no idea how they would get around it.
No, exactly. It's very difficult. Very difficult.
I mean, what are you going to do? Are they going to paint like boxes on the terracing? I know. I'm sure it's one of those things where you kind of wonder if they're going to kind of do like certain
a lot of
gaps.
A lot of
like having your own little private move in Western Territory.
Can you imagine being at like, Warrington's grab, behind the sticks out, Warrington. I mean, that's pretty steep as well.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like having that like spaced out? You'd be like, yeah, all right, waving along, It'd be the most weirdest thing, but it makes you wonder how is it going to work? It's just
Wakey fans won't have any problem with that.
Yeah, we've got a leaky digging.
Is that our first wakey digging ever? Loiners
digging somewhere, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually Cass or Okinawa that we kind of end up trying to dig in. By the way, did anyone see the picture of fair play? I'm not taking a bit. Cass basically, I think, opened their shop in Cass today for the first time, and there was actually a queue, and I was like thinking, these people are queuing to get stuff at Castleford's shop. It looked really like. Don't get me wrong, fair play, because I mean, there's a lot of shops who aren't opening, but it was just such a surreal sight seeing them all lined up. It was quite weird, by the way.
How long was the queue? 10 metres.
Quite a big one, actually. It's I average.
Yeah, they're all very good.
You all knew each other anyway, so it's fine. You're all family. It's not exactly an issue. Maybe complaints. Right. I don't know. It makes. How will Cass going to do it? That's another point. How's Jungle going to be looked after? Yeah.
God, no. Just knock it down.
Knock it down.
Get rid.
There's that picture across the road.
People have been
still got Spanish flu in Cass.
People have been catching stuff there for years anyway, so it won't make much difference, will it?
Yeah.
Well, this will. Well, yeah. Suppose this is where there'll be, maybe Cass playing at, Headingley for a few games, or sort of mixing it up. It's like one of the venues. But like you say, when things slightly go back to normal and there's still these restrictions, Cass, Wakey, how do they sort on terraces?
Well, I suppose one good thing about Headingley is there's about 10,000 seats, so you could probably, if you are going reduced, you could probably get around it that way at Headingley. For the Yorkshire clubs.
Plus, as well, I mean, the other aspect is it's going to be a nightmare for Cass as well, because they're going to have to. Where they're going to put all their horse and carts when they're coming up from Cass.
Oh God!
Sorry, it's going to be.
Did anyone see that? I think you responded to it, Lots. Sharon from Wigan. She said, why on earth would Headingley host a triple header when it's really bad for car parking just for one game? And you're just thinking, why are you even concerned about car parking when you're going to be watching at home anyway?
And also,
did you see the response though? Somebody replied to a tweet going, "It's behind closed doors, Shazza," and she replied and went, "Well, I may as well cancel rugby league forever." What on love?
Do you know what? I've seen quite a few people mention this, and do you know what? I couldn't give a shit, as daft it sounds, but the amount of people complaining that Leeds have got an advantage. How? There's nobody. All right, yeah, they know the venue, but
I don't get that.
Players know all the other venues. There's no fans there. How is it an advantage? I don't get it.
It's not like Leeds have been winning much there in the last few years, anyway, is it?
Yeah, I mean, fair play. There were quite a few Huddersfield fans who were carrying on about it, and I'm like, well, if you want, we can always go to your ground. I mean, there's not that many fans in there anyway. At best of times, we can have it with your fans supporting the game. But
just on the cowbell.
Yeah.
Would we have to go in the away changing room? I wonder.
That'd be. How many change rooms are at Headingley? Have they got 4 now, or is it 6? Or
you've got South Stand, you've got the rugby ones, plus you can use the cricket ones, I suppose, can't you?
Yeah.
So
but yeah, people are moaning about Leeds being in contention to host it.
And yet we've got 6
because
change rooms.
apparently Leeds run the RFL.
If you look at, but you've also got to look at it though. Leeds have got probably the newest and the best facilities for the media as well. So that's going to be the main reason why they do it. If it's going to be on TV, behind closed doors, Sky will want to be at the with the best facilities just for them, won't they? They're not going to want to go to Wakefield or Keighley. You know what I mean? They want to go to the better stadiums with the best setups. That's the main reason it'll be at Headingley.
I think it'd be good. I mean, the issue is you can play the games at any time of day on a weekend period because there's going to be no fans there. You don't have to worry about crowds attendance. You could play games at weekends at like 10 a.m. and fill the schedule up, couldn't the Sky? Literally, it could fill up. And to me, that I wouldn't mind it. It'd almost be like a magic weekend.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't matter. The fans are going to be watching on TV, let's be honest. So most fans will be up by 10 o'clock. Some fans. You can play all day, and it's just an idea. But given that fans can't attend, it makes sense to do that. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think.
It's nice to have some light at the end of the tunnel, isn't it, guys? To be honest, I mean, the pub's open on Saturday. Rugby's back in a month today. We're getting there, slowly but surely. Yeah,
it makes sense, doesn't it? It's good. I mean, we haven't had much to cheer, have we? The last few months. I mean, apart from Conrad's, TikTok videos and a few other little bits and pieces. But yeah, so I don't know. Right, gentlemen. Now there was a question that I put out on Twitter earlier, and I thought we'd put it on here as well. Who is currently the most underrated player in Super League? Who do we think?
Can we do a Rhinos one and a Super League one?
Do whatever you want. Yeah, that could be a good idea.
Yeah, but for me, during the Rhinos games, like James Donaldson goes completely under the radar for me. Now, people say I'm biased because he's a Cumbrian lad, but it's just every time he comes on the field, he's good for minimum 25 tackles every single week. He runs more than his weight, taking us forward when he comes on as well. A lot of what he does gets swept under the carpet, really.
You know what? I put a few notes in front of me just for the underrated side of things, so I don't forget the players. And Donaldson was one on my list as well. I
must admit, when we signed him and he'd just been released by OKR, I was like, "What are we playing at?" But actually, as a squad player, probably alongside the salary he's on, no problem with it at all. I'd re-sign him.
He'd run through a wall. He just gives so much effort every game, and for a small guy, he makes so many meters out of it. His defence is one of the first ones up in defence every time. He's always there, first in the tackle. To me, you need guys like that in your team.
I was going to say him as well. Even Matt Pryor.
Another one that stood out in the first few games this year for me was Cam Smith as well.
I was going to say.
Oh yeah, Cam Smith's been very good. Yeah.
His work rate was phenomenal. I think he done nearly 60 tackles one week, I think.
Yeah. But he's got the makings of a top class lock, hasn't he? He's going to be there or thereabouts for the England team for the next decade.
How old is Cam Smith at the minute?
22, is it?
22.
So he's got another good 10 years. And he's going to develop so much. And 22-year-old forward, I mean, that's like a baby, isn't it? Effectively, in terms of, playing.
Look at Nikolai, for example, though, as well. You've got to remember, there's times where we're getting absolutely pumped every week with the likes of, Cam Smith and Nikolai playing, but forwards don't come into their prime till late 20s, possibly early 30s. Those lads have been playing first grade since they were 17, 18, 19-year-old. It's only going to benefit. Well, at the time, it wasn't fun getting hammered every week with kids playing, but how much is that going to benefit us in the future?
Oh, massively.
Yeah, I think, especially with Aletsky, he's got that ability, hasn't he, to just, he keeps going. No matter what, whenever he gets the ball, he just goes, doesn't it? It's almost like nothing's going to stop him, doesn't want to slow down. He doesn't go.
He's got one direction, that's forward, and he's also got the ability when he hits the line to get that little offload out as well.
Yeah.
But for a guy his age, it's annoyed me because I've seen fans around the league just say how rubbish he is, just how poor he is, and he'll never make a Super League player. And I don't know what they're watching because he's one of the few. Well, I won't say the few; they've all been putting effort in, but he's one of the main ones who has looked half decent in what has been a poor team for the last few years.
Couldn't think, but at his age, playing in the middle, when you're literally a child, which he was when he got into the team, obviously a bloody big one, but
Yeah, oh yeah. But
You must have, blatant disregard for your own safety at that age to run like he does against fellas nearly twice his age.
yeah,
You have to commend him, really.
It's an absolute beast. Who would you pick, Chris?
I'm going to say same. I'm going to go with Cam Smith.
Okay.
Just from the start, his ads. I mean, I was looking at his stats earlier on. I think he was the highest in terms of tackles. I think against Hull FC and OKR. I think he's made a good start so far. I'd probably go with Cam Smith.
So,
But my all-time one, out of all the Rhinos, grand final winning squads and things like that, Carl Ablett for me is just
I
easy.
knew you might pick that
one. Genuinely though, if you think he scored some very important tries in finals for us, in a variety of positions as well, sort of back row. I think, did he play centre and score twice?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You could he'd play centre, he'd play loose forward, I think he'd play standoff a couple of times as well. No matter where he played, he always looked a good player. He never had any poor games. He might not have shone all the time, but when it came to, the games he put in, he was always one of the top 5 performers in the team. And again, like Donaldson, they're the guys you need. Not the flashy ones, but the ones who are going to get through the sets, create things for outside players. I mean, did he set up the try against Warrington in one of the grand finals? Sinfield finished off, and it was his footwork that did it.
Yeah.
That's just the type of player you need in your team, and I think he's one of the players we've missed. Since he got the few little injuries, and obviously he's retired now. But that, to me, he was a big part of what we did well in the last 10 years.
that really peed me off as well. And it wasn't actually his fault. Sorry for being quite aggressive there. But the way he retired, that was so harsh, I thought. I know part of his body, his body got to him, but we didn't really get a chance to say proper goodbye, did we? Because, and it was, of course, a case of,
wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he was one of our, if you think, he was probably the most underrated player we've had. And he just kind of, there was no goodbye. And it felt really sad, actually, I thought. It's not, he pretty much put as much effort in as everybody else. In fact, probably sometimes a bit more. But it just didn't, didn't get it.
Yeah, like you'd have thought maybe like Leeds would have done something maybe like the first home game of season, just like a little bit of a goodbye to fans, just something little like that. I mean, I know it's slightly different, but it's like, do you remember the Callum Watkins situation with the time zone? Like when he was supposed to play, I think, was it the Sunday?
Yeah.
So because of they got the time difference wrong in Australia, he was ineligible to play. And he's straight on a plane, and there was no. For the amount of like years he put into the club, it was just like, oh, by the way, Watkins has gone now. He's played his last game.
It's one of the things that we do well as a club, all that sentimental stuff, and it was sort of out of character for us, really. We usually do a good send off,
especially when you think about the send off that JJB got at the end of last year, knowing that it was Ablett's, same send off. He didn't get anywhere near as much attention.
Yeah, and it was I felt a bit sorry for him, but. Well, face. Any
since Joe took all mine, I've just thought one. Obviously, I'm a fan guy. I think he's a massively underrated player as well. I mean, the meters he goes through, nobody in the league talks about him as one of the best props. I'll tell you what, if you took him out of that Leeds team, they would struggle. This season, they'd have struggled. When we've been pretty average, would have been even worse without him in the last 12 months.
And what is his best moment on a rugby pitch?
Going to the wrong end for kickoff.
Still one of my favourite moments I've ever seen. In fact, that's going to be the topic for next week. We won't go too much into that. But literally, that genius, absolute genius.
I just loved how he played it off as well. He got there, he's warming up, he's looking around, then he realises that it's all the opposition around him. So he casually jogs back to the other side of the field. Doesn't even break a smile or anything. He just, as if it's normal, as if that was what he meant to do all along.
Genius. Right, so, if you didn't hear me that before, everyone, next week we're going to do the funniest moments in rugby league that we've seen. So have a think. Let us know by Twitter at LoinersView. If you're watching on YouTube, just put in the comments section, next to the subscribe button, which should be down here. Yeah, subscribe and leave us your funniest rugby league moments, and we'll try and mention them next week. Yeah. Right. So,
in terms of your underrated players from other clubs, because obviously we've gone very Leeds centric there, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Danny Houghton, right? And I know obviously people would say that he's not underrated or anything. But for me, he's just unfortunate that he lives in a time where we've got so many good number 9s, because in any other era, he would have had, 30, 40
National
international
jerseys.
caps, might have even captained the national team. So, yeah, that's the one for me, I think.
Well, just look at the other hookers around. I mean, obviously there's Roby, but Hodgson's at the top of his game in Australia. Then you've got Darryl Clark as well, who's one of the most explosive hookers around. It's just unfortunate, like you say, that he's not had chance to get any games in international level.
Absolute tackling machine as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you don't count on anybody to make 50 tackles in a game, he's going to be your man.
Yeah, it was literally the amount that he would always. Well, yeah, you just think.
But he's underrated out of dummy half as well. He gets the forwards going, run onto the ball so well. That's something a good hooker needs, and it's what a lot of hookers don't quite do right. The accurate passes from dummy half.
Yeah, good speed of hand as well, which he definitely had. Any more for Jod?
There's a lot of, I don't want to say journeyman players, because that's the wrong word, because some of them have stayed with clubs for quite a long time, but just your run-of-the-mill sort of players like Danny Washbrook and people like that, for example, who have done exceptional jobs. When they're poor, they're 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's the sort of player that you mean when you say underrated. But yeah, people such as that, really.
Kerman was another one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Somebody tweeted us today with Matty Ashurst, who you kind of forget about. But
yeah, that's a good one.
I didn't realise he's 30-year-old. Now, I thought, and I looked at his stats and how long he started at St Helens, and then he moved on, and you're thinking, Jesus, you've been around the block a bit. Well, not massive. He's only been about 3 clubs, but 30-year-old. But he seems to have just almost. He doesn't seem to have been there forever, if you get what I mean. He's almost seems so he's all just broke on, but unbelievable stats as well for a player.
It depends as well what your class is as underrated, I guess. Because for me, this might sound daft. James Roby has never got the full amount of credit that he truly deserves. He has been for most of his career maybe one of the top 3, definitely top 5 hookers in the world. He's won a Man of Steel, hasn't he? I think he's won various trophies. But for me, I think we'll look back in 20 years' time and appreciate Roby more than what we probably do now while he's still playing.
No doubt, because I reckon if he goes to the NRL 10 years ago, he is classed as the best hooker of the last decade. I mean, Cam Smith's up there, you won't beat him, but to me, Roby's a better hooker than Hodgson, and Hodgson's talked in the same class as Cam Smith, so I don't see any reason why Roby wouldn't have been. But like anything, you only really get rated from the Australian side of things if you go and have a dig in their comp.
If Saints had won those 5 grand finals, would he be talked of as underrated?
Possibly not, no. No, don't get me wrong, he's had loads of plaudits and he's won everything there is to win. But I just think that he's better than what we talk him up in this current thing, and I don't think we'll maybe fully see that until he's not here anymore.
Yeah. Interesting one about Roby, because he's always one of those players, I think, obviously with Leeds, we've always had that role covered, but I always thought, what would he be like playing for Leeds?
It sounds mad, right? If I had to pick, we had all those grand finals against St Helens over the years. If I had to pick any player from that St Helens team and swap them into ours, it would be him. And you've got to remember, we had Danny Medeiros in one of those finals. Yeah.
Mind you, Medeiros was getting on a bit at that point as well. I think Roby would walk into any team in the world, and at his peak, there's no doubt he'd walk into any team in the world.
Great.
Barring maybe Melbourne.
Cam Smith.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about Cam Smith.
But at the same time, what you're saying about Roby, I've said this to a few Bulldogs fans that, they're expecting Luke Thompson to go over there and play world class from week 1. He's been playing off Roby's dummy half play for the last however many years he's been there. And he's going over there now and playing off Jerry Marshall King, who is basically an average 7, who's been thrown in the hooker spot. He's not going to get the same ball as what he was getting off Roby, so he won't shine as much, I don't think.
Yeah.
And it's just something that people don't realise how important that part of the game is. We see it sometimes. I mean, I really like Dwyer at Leeds, but his dummy half passing sometimes gets our forwards a bit clunky because we're not running onto it. They're having to stop and catch the ball, and then when they take it in, they've lost that half a yard of pace, and we get dominated sometimes. And it's just something that I think every club needs, and that's a hooker who has that great ball from dummy half that just gets you forward running onto the ball and, making these side yards.
That's why it is that they're so good, and they manage to beat us consistently when we play the international level. Just do the basics so well. Like every pass is on the button. They complete, they turn us around, and then they wait for us to inevitably cop up. And it's not great to watch sometimes, but that is why they are so good. Their skill levels are through the roof.
Look at today. Cam Smith plays standoff. Brendan Smith goes in at dummy half, and would you realise there was any difference really? He got them on the roll as well.
Isn't that a case with modern day rugby league now, where you look at your backs almost, and they can kind of cover many different positions, and they interchange during the game more than having a set position?
Yeah, well, look at more or less every single fullback in Super League. They're all a filled standoff, aren't they? Or they've moved there. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, a fullback nowadays is just an extra standoff. It's somebody who chimes into the line and creates space for the outside. I mean, to me, as much as Tompkins is a good fullback, I still think he's a better halfback than he is a fullback. Just he doesn't have to defend as much at halfback as what he does at fullback. And he's one of the few players who would still look better in the halves than he does at fullback.
Why would you have picked Tompkins halfback all the time?
I would. I mean, I've no doubt if he went over to Australia and played 6 or 7 for the Warriors, he would have made a much better career for himself down there. I mean, I know he left by his own accord anyway, but there was one time that Ben Barber actually, Ben Barber, not the biggest guy in the world, and he got ploughed. Barber ran over the top of Tompkins, and that was kind of the beginning of the end for his reputation over there. And I just think when you're playing standoff, you can hide with your centres or your second rowers. You don't have to get caught out in defence like that.
Let's not forget as well, Sam Tompkins voted the worst signing in rugby league history in the NRL, and that was even above John Tansey.
I do disagree because he scored 14 tries that first season. It's just the second season he was hampered by injury, and that didn't help. Plus, if you sign for the Warriors, it's a death sentence for most players anyway.
Vasashek says, yeah.
I mean, Hastings. I've seen rumours of Hastings going there this week, and I just think that's going to be the worst thing that could happen to him.
He's denied it. Yeah.
Oh, he's going to do, but if he goes, he wants to go back to the NRL, and to me, for him to shine, he's got to go to a Sydney club. He can't go to the New Zealand Warriors, otherwise, to me, that's the end of his career. He'll last a few years, go to reserve grade. That's it for him. They just don't develop good players in New Zealand.
Graveyard, isn't it? So to speak.
It is.
Which is a shame because,
the death of a lot of players.
Right, Jobber, what we haven't done for quite a while, we haven't done the alphabet, have we? We haven't carried on the LoinersView alphabet. I know this great feature where we just ramble. We haven't done that this evening. So, right, the first letter this week is the letter G. What rugby league words and phrases can we think of that begins with the letter G?
Got to be Golden Point.
Golden Point.
Got to be Golden Point.
Do you know what? What an invention. Tell you what, NRL has become so much more fascinating with Golden Point. I mean, this morning's game, brilliant. The game last week, I can't remember which way it was off the top of my head now. It's just gone totally. Where it went to Golden Point. Amazing. What a spectacle. Whoever, genius. How do we rate them, boys?
It is, but I don't think anybody deserved to lose this morning. It was that good of a game. You'd have taken that 2 drop goals in the last minute of the game. You'd have taken a draw after that. I thought it was a bit harsh on the Roosters to lose how they did as well. With the injury to Boyd Cordner.
Johnny, just for a second, if anybody hasn't watched it, sorry, you've lost out. Yeah. Tough. Anyway, carry on, Johnny.
Yeah, just saying. I just think it was the way they lost with Cordner getting a head knock and dropping the ball and then it's setting up the penalty at the end. It was a bit harsh. I think. I mean, I'm a fan of Golden Point, but I do think that it would have been a fair result if both walked away with a point today. It deserved it, the way the game finished.
It was a cracking ending, to be fair. What did you think, Jord?
What, this morning's game?
Yeah.
I was working from home. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Have you not seen much of it? Oh, right.
Oh, would you spoil it for you?
It was a good game, John.
Yay, spoiled! Boom! No, joking, sorry.
The bit I saw, was was just the intensity was through the roof, wasn't it? It was played at such a pace. It was really, really, really good.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could we? I mean, we've already seen one grand final in the last few years. Well, 5 years ago, go to a golden point. It makes you wonder if like this year's could go to a golden point. How harsh would you feel at losing at a golden point game? I mean,
that'd just be the worst, wouldn't it?
It would be the ultimate horrendous feeling. I can't imagine. Yeah, not worth thinking about. Right, I've got to say, the one that I've thought of this week, and it's a bit of a weird one, Gateshead.
Okay.
I mean, everyone seems to forget the old Gateshead Thunder, Sharks, Hull FC, Rugby League. But for me, I can't believe it didn't work out that well. I mean, it was perfect location-ish, Gateshead. Newcastle's next door. But it just, for me, it was one of those moments of like, we kind of moved it too quickly just to make sure that Hull didn't go bust. It's one of those that I regret. I didn't do it, but it makes you think, what would have been if we'd have carried on? I know it's got Newcastle Thunder now, and they're doing great jobs up in the North East, but that time it just seemed to mess up a bit. I don't know.
I think the biggest problem is it's a union town, isn't it?
It's a lot of time, isn't it, really, Newcastle and Gateshead?
Well, no, I mean, from the rugby side of things, Newcastle, all union fans. I mean, they've had a good team. They used to have a good team up there. I'm not sure what it's like now, but when like Wilkinson was there, they were competing quite a lot. And it's the same as Leeds. Union hasn't taken off in Leeds as much as we've tried. And I think it's because it's a league town. It's same thing up there, just opposite way around.
It's an interesting one. Right, Jordan, what is your letter this week?
It's
a word, I should say.
Following on from when it was letter F, and it was the famous rugby league forward. For G, it's going to be get 'em on side. Just can't go to any ground in the country in Iraq, can you? And 99 times out of 100, they're all behind the referee. Got to find something to twine about, haven't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, there might be 5 meters on side, and you still got to shout it, haven't you?
And you know full well there's people shouting it who are not actually on the angle where they can actually see if everybody's on side either or behind the sticks.
So when we start playing these games behind closed doors, and we're going to have the sounds, are we going to have that like thrown in as well? And just every so often forward.
Get them on side.
There's a bloke. They're taking ages to take a conversion, and some bloke shouts, "Come on, I'm on night shift."
Forward. Yeah, that would be amazing. I wonder if any clubs need any 4 blokes to come and do some voices, we'll gladly come and do them for you. I mean, we'll charge a crate beer. But yeah, that's a good point, actually. You can't go, it's almost like a universal thing. It's like you can't see a rugby league fan until you shout, "Get them outside," Brilliant. Absolutely amazing passage, I think. Right, Johnny. What are you doing with
grubber kick. Grubber. Right. You can't beat a well-timed grubber forcing a goal and drop out or even a try. Great part of the game.
2 words there. I like it. Goal line drop out and grubber kick. Well done. They are a pain in the ass to pick up grubber kicks. I don't know about you boys, when I play rugby, it's almost one thing that I hated doing just for the pure trying to work out the bounce of it. Maybe that's because I'm short-sighted. But yeah, literally, it was. I never could do it right. I don't know about you.
There's an art to it. The Australians are masters of it, aren't they? The amount of repeat sets forced in NRL games compared to Super League is just. I'd like to see the official stats.
Helps that their ingle areas are about 3 meters longer as well.
True. I didn't actually realise that, to be honest.
Yeah. 8 meters over there. Ours are normally 4 or 5.
All right.
I never knew that.
Every day's a school day, Johnny, innit?
There you go. I was going to say, I mean, if you think about how many games have been won by little grubber kicks or little tiny things like that, game changers, aren't they? Probably more than an up and under, aren't they, do you reckon?
Oh, it works better. I mean, you can, if you field up and under in the Ingle area, it's a 7-tackle set and, 20 metres out. Grubbers, get it in there. They've got to work their way out themselves. At the very worst, you're tackling them a couple of metres out. They've got all the hard work to do that.
Here's a question for you, though. Say you're the full-back. Which would you rather not pick up, a grubber kick or a high kick? Or what would you go for? Sorry. Which would you rather not go for?
Grubbers are much harder because of how it can bounce anywhere. You're never quite sure how it is going to bounce.
Especially, do you remember that 8-sided ball?
Yeah,
the stadium one.
the Gilbert one.
The Gilbert one, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
What was that? Whose idea was that? No wonder you needed.
Better for kicking or passing one.
No wonder you needed them fucking gloves on to catch you. Remember them? Henry Farfailey bombing down the wing with his gloves on.
Yeah.
Awful things they are. I'm so glad when I were a player, I tried kicking. Catching couldn't do, kicking definitely couldn't. Right, the next letter. H. Who's going to go first?
Go on, Johnny.
Okay, then I have
Age before beauty.
Hooter.
What?
Hooter.
It's closed down, mate. Have you not heard?
A good night. It was a good night at the where were we? Cardiff, weren't we?
Yeah, I've never been, you bloody pervert.
I don't know what you're on about. I mean, I just thought my chicken wings were really nice.
And I think we got photos that prove otherwise, George.
That's not me.
A much younger you.
It doesn't even look like me, so I could get away with it.
But yeah, no, Hooter, it's in the half time or the full time Hooter.
Hooter, right.
Hooter, yeah.
Than hearing that sound when in a close game where the team, the opposite are coming back at you.
It's almost like a lifeline of, thank God, we can hear the noise. Yeah.
Oh, and the grand final, the 2004 grand final Hooter, that was the best noise I've ever heard in rugby league.
All right, be honest. The 2004 grand final Hooter, what I was going to say, what was your emotions? I mean, it's pretty much, you'll be all universal same. But can you remember what that feeling was like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never cried at a rugby league game, but I was very close that time. For years of watching Leeds, I'd started watching as a 10-year-old back in '94. And I know it's only 10 years later, but when you're that age, it seems like a lot of your life. And it was just great to finally get that monkey off your back.
Johnny, you should have said you were about 5 years younger, mate. It would have helped.
I was in the Bradford end that night because I ended up I didn't have a ticket to sell out like crazy fast.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting tickets off one of my mates to play, so off Brow because they were on a trip. But yeah, like a full time, this bloody massive like Bradford fan with a fucking bull's ring through his nose came walking up to me. I'm like, shit, he's going to chin me here. But he shook hands and said, "Oh, you deserve it. You've been best team all season." So yeah, it was quite a nice moment. Rugby league was the winner.
You were only 7, weren't you?
14 I was.
Yeah.
I only had 2 points before game that day.
I just think it was just like the best feeling ever. To win his first championship in over 30 years, and I mean, for me to have close mates there, and like my dad there as well, who got me into sport. To actually share that moment with him. So yeah, it was just that. Like even after Maguire's try, it was just this thing of, I can't believe I'm actually witnessing this. Leeds, Leeds in general, whether it's football, rugby, you're just like, we don't win stuff. We're not successful. We just don't win championships. So just to see it all unfold, yeah, it was very.
It was an almost team. Apart from the '99 cup final, it was an almost team, wasn't it? For the decade before that, they've been to so many finals and always got beat, and it was just good to. Especially to me, the title's the biggest one. I mean, I'm hit or miss for the cup. It's always good to win the cup, but if you lose it, I never walk away feeling too down about it. But the grand finals to me, the most on the opposite side, the worst I felt after a game was the 2005 grand final.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same thing because we got so close, been the best team all year, and we got, I won't say cheated, but Morley set up that their final try that put the game to bed. And it ended up he put them over the cap, so it just didn't sit right with me.
How did we lose both finals in 2005 with that squad?
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? They were probably better that year than they were in 2004.
It was madness, wasn't it? Because that season we actually played really well. I mean, it was just that last bit, wasn't it? That last push where we just kind of crumbled, wasn't it? And it was like, I mean, the playoffs we did quite well, if I remember right. And then
Yeah,
it
they
came to,
played really well at St Helens, didn't we, in the semi-final?
then grand final was just a nightmare, wasn't it? It was like,
Well,
I mean, it was a close game, but we were a
for
bit.
the cup final, it was team selection. I think there were one or two players they shouldn't have picked who weren't quite fit, and that maybe cost us. Not to mention the flick pass.
Oh,
And then the grand final, we just hit a Bulls team that were playing really well as well at that time. You know, they'd gone on a massive run. They won like 10 games in a row to get there or something.
Stupid,
And
yeah.
it was just bad timing or good timing from their part, depending on how you look at it.
Didn't Bradford make if I remember rightly, didn't Bradford become the first team to make Old Trafford from third? Yeah. So they made history at the time, didn't they? So, like Johnny said, I think they must have played us off the back of like 9 games, something. They went on a bit of a winning streak.
I'm pretty sure that 2 months earlier they weren't even in the top 5. They, literally came out of nowhere to get there.
Do you remember the totally going off subject matter here, but do you remember the semi-final in the Challenge Cup against Toulouse? Did you guys get that? Yeah. And it was the biggest, weirdest game of rugby league I've ever been to because it felt like a carnival because there was literally just Leeds fans, and the atmosphere was just so weird. Like,
what about the
I always
crowd
remember afterwards. I always remember going to we went to that supporters bar afterwards over
the
at
old South Stand Rugby Club, yeah.
Yeah, all squad were there, all Toulouse players and that. So we ended up necking a few pints with them. But yeah, it was just a weird atmosphere, wasn't it?
Wasn't it? Yeah. Tommy Gallagher there, absolutely Tommy Gallagher were absolutely trashed. And I think everybody was just buying beers because they were getting more and more pissed. And it got to the point where, and I remember it was really hot day as well. So everybody was just sat in car park at South Stand just getting leathered.
Was that when Justin Morgan were in charge as well?
Yeah, he was there drinking with us. Yeah. What a legend. Anyway, right. Any more words?
Off a H.
What?
Go on, Chris.
Go on. No, bit of a daft one, but you'll probably remember this with social media. In particular, like Ben Cockayne, there was a bit of an obsession with Herbalife back in the day. Good old Herbalife. I just got sick of seeing it plastered all over Facebook, Twitter.
Every rugby league player advertising it, yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
The thing is that none of them had managed to work out. It was a pyramid scheme as well. That was the best crap.
Somebody was making a lot of money, and they weren't just the rugby players, were it? That was the funniest thing.
Jim, you're right. Like I remember seeing all that stuff.
Terrible though, wasn't it? I mean, it was like it was in the early days of like Twitter, wasn't it? Where literally every rugby league player that was on there, we're all on Herbal, and they're like, what are you doing? You're only advertising, another chain product. Not good. Jord, what have you thought?
So mine is a classic commentary line, actually, by Ray French. Now, he must have got a little bit tongue-tied, shall we say, and got a bit confused between 2 sentences and merged them into one. So, yeah, long story short, you'll find it on YouTube. Worth a listen. Ray French gets a bit tongue-tied and he ends up saying, he can run this fucker. He was like, he ends up mixing 2 sentences up and saying that, basically. Go and find it on YouTube. Quite funny.
Ray French, what a legend.
Oh, what do you know, the best thing about him in his commentary, how does he know what amateur club everybody played for in history?
Encyclopedia.
Literally, how much studying had he done? He must have done during the week before the game. He must literally go through entire booklets from Loughborough and Wigan, St Pat's, just looking at players and then, he made that day. Must have photographic memory. Unbelievable. He
must. I remember, White had them once on BBC, and someone scored and he goes, they'll be having a party in the clubhouse at Loughborough tonight. It's like, But he's a great bloke, actually, he's Ray French. I went to a sportsman's dinner with him about 2 years ago. He had some really good stories.
He's a great bloke. He used to, do you remember when, you might know, there used to be the spiral staircase at Headingley. This is a long, long time ago. Right in the middle of the halfway line, which used to be commentary box entrance.
It's where the green team used to stand, isn't it?
Yeah, Anyway,
there's a G, green team at Headingley. Are they still there?
I don't think they are, actually.
I think
off
so.
the top of my head. No, I don't think so. Anyway, and I remember chatting to him, and it took him like Eddie and Steve used to charge up the stairs, up the spiral staircase to the commentary box, really quick. Poor old Ray used to like climb up there, and it was just like, come on, lad, you're doing a really good job here. But yeah, bless him. I mean, that was God,
Long
20
way up
years
there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I won't want to be going up that. Right, little trek.
Do you know what? That's the one thing I miss from the old South Stand. We used to wait for Phil Clark to walk across, so you knew we were coming at some point. And I'm sure he used to purposely like hold back a little bit because he used to
I think
at the top of the South Stand, and you just
think
see
he
him
loved
walking across, and the amount of shit we just give him.
Do you know what? As much shit as we give Phil Clark, it don't get boring.
I think he likes being the pantomime villain, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, yeah. He clearly knows how why people... And do you know what's even funnier now is he's trolling us with his fashion sense, which I think is even funnier because, like, he'll come onto Sky with all these outfits and you're thinking, you're doing that just for a reaction online because you know you're going to get one. There's no way about it.
Speaking of Phil Clark with his fashion, what year was it Wigan and Saints played in Challenge Cup final at Cardiff? About 2004, something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. After the game, we saw Phil Clark. He was dressed from head to toe, all white suit, like John Travolta, with a pair of like tanned, like snakeskin shoes on. I've never seen out like it. Honestly, it looked like someone off. Sorry,
which, funnily enough, was the fashion at the time of Wigan.
Do you know what? When we come to doing the alphabet, when we get to W, it will be just full of Wigan stuff, Wigan stories. I can't see any other way. Anyway, yeah.
Remember that time you were sick up way back from Wigan, Loz?
No comment. Anyway, right, so... right, no, I wasn't. Oh, well. Anyway.
But what was to blame for your bad guts, Loz?
Oh, I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Anyway,
right.
Was it the pies?
I think it
probably was. I mean, never mind. Anyway, right.
I was just saying, one H we've missed out on there, Headingley.
Headingley.
Oh, well.
I don't know, but it's been very lead-centric, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, Johnny,
I just thought it's a fitting way to end it with the alphabet.
It's Emerald Headingley, though, so you've got it wrong. So
yeah.
You could have Hunslet as well, Huddersfield. I mean, my favourite bar in Huddersfield is Ricky's. You're all looking at me like, what?
Oh, no, I remember.
You remember?
I remember going in when it was closed and they opened it up. It says, "Oh, go on, then we'll open up the bar."
Yeah,
it's basically like the Flying Scotsman.
Well, we were in the bar the night of the when we won the league leadership, weren't we? The treble year. Before the game, we were in Ricky's that night.
Before, didn't we?
That place where there was loads of poles in there. Yeah.
Hooters.
Dancers.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, what about Headingley?
Bring it back, please.
Social distancing. Yeah. Right. We'll quickly talk, as it has been Leeds Central tonight, really. Finally, just before we finish, what's your favourite memory of Headingley as in the rugby ground? What's your favourite moment that you've seen there? Oh, that's a big one, isn't it, to finish on?
A lot, isn't there?
There's a few, isn't there?
Oh, God.
That night that we beat St Helens 70-0, it was a beautiful evening. I mean, I don't know why, but for some reason I was in the Eastern Terrace that night. But the sun were beating down, it was just a party atmosphere, and we ran in 11, 12 tries, whatever it was. It was just a great night.
It was very warm in the South Stand that night. Very warm. Not nice. George?
Probably one that jumps out for me.
Go on, Chris.
Go on, George.
Oh.
I think there's a couple for me. One being we beat Manly in the World Club Challenge. That was because they'd fetched a full team, hadn't they, as well, which is rarely the case when it's a World Club Challenge game. And another one, just not like massively important game, but just for a moment that happened between all us lot as a group of mates was when we beat Wigan in the Challenge Cup when Lee Smith scored in the last minute. And then now basically for the listeners that don't, there's a big lad who used to come to the match with us. You might know him. Some of you might know him. He basically turned up on the Saturday morning absolutely rotten from the night before. He'd been out. And as you do when you go out, he ended up with loads and loads of change. So he went into William Hill with a pocket full of 10 pences and put £1 on. Was it a pound or a fiver? Anyone remember? There's a
I
fiver,
wasn't
wasn't it?
there. I wasn't there.
We're five.
But I know
Yes,
about it.
he basically he collected a fiver in utter shit that was in his pocket and put it on no try scorer at 300 to 1. So
At all. No try score at all.
no try scorer in the game at all. Lee Smith scored on 79.51, the first try of the game. So we'd beat Wigan in the last minute. We're all like upside down on the terraces and that. Big lad sat on the floor crying, "I've lost 1,500 quid, he's gone."
I remember getting text messages from you guys because I think I had to work that day, and I just remember coming out going, "What?" And literally, like, I think I messaged Big Lad, and he was like sending one-word answers. It was literally like, I don't think he was more, mortified at the fact of getting owned by Lee Smith. Bless him. What was yours, Chris? Sorry.
I were actually thinking of that. But yeah, I'm going to mention that. So George got that in. Too many. I think the one that kind of jumped to mind at the moment is when we had the send-off for Cine, Luluai and Peacock when we played New Zealand.
Yeah. Good call.
I just thought it was a nice touch, just having the hacker in front at South Stand. I think Luluai joined in. I just thought it was just a nice... I just thought it was just a brilliant night. We would send off, even though a few of us got a little bit merry in that. So,
and there is also a video of that, which is on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
If you are watching us on YouTube, it's just directly below. And if you aren't watching us, go onto YouTube, look up LoinersView, and there is an actual video that I think I took. Yeah, I took it, and directly the hacker from the South Stand. Right, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us this week. Jordan, what's your NRL tip for the weekend? Who are you backing? Or which is your bet that you
You put me on the spot there. I'm going to have a look.
Oh.
Ask them to and let me have a look.
Go on. Right, what's your tips for the weekend, Johnny?
I reckon Wests can give Penrith a good game. Although Penrith are playing very well. But I think Maguire's got West playing very, top of their game at the moment. It's the best they've looked in quite a few years. I've actually got the Penrith on my tipping league, but I still think West have got a good chance of getting over the line in that one.
I think Manly are going to get destroyed this week.
Oh, without Trbojevic, they're just a different team out there.
Yeah, so I am a Manly fan for those people who don't know me. Yeah, I think there could be a hell of a lack of direction this week. It could be pretty painful, but we'll see. Have you found anything, George?
I'm just going to play it safe and go with the Bulldogs to get beat again.
Well, we always do.
Just drop me fishing rod there. No, Johnny
Luke Thompson might be making his debut this weekend, so we'll see if he does play, what difference he'll make.
He could do. He'll make a good difference, I think.
But I mean, to be honest, the chances of me being in a state to watch that at 9:30 on Sunday morning when the pub's been back open.
On that note, thanks very much, folks. Please join us next week. Subscribe if you are watching on YouTube, and subscribe on all the podcast hosts. I'm Lawrie, and we'll see you next week. And remember, if you've got any suggestions for the funniest moments you've seen in rugby league, let us know, and we'll include them next week. Goodbye.